Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the most amazing authors of a new book we have coming out called Sacred Spaces: Subtle Shifts for Mind, Body, and Home Transformation. And this is Sacred Spaces Volume 2, you guys. I'm so excited about this. And I have some very powerful women in my Zoom room today. Before I introduce them to you, I want to say a big thank you to Colleen Avis, who is the lead author of this project. Colleen, we wouldn't be here without you. I'm so honored and grateful that you're here doing this book. You have collaborated with a stellar group of expert authors, and I love the mission, and I'm so excited that we're doing this second volume in the series. The community that you've gathered around you is really like, man, I pinch myself. I get to play in the sandbox with you all every day. So who do I have here today? Angela Usas is a heart guide with a mission to get people to drop out of their heads and into their hearts. I love that. A heart guide. Okay, Mary Blanchard is with us today. She's a wellness advocate who uses essential oils and nature walks to support you in reconnecting with your natural self. Mayan Tran is an expert in uncovering and removing the hidden blocks that keep us from our deepest desires. She helps her clients heal, prepare for, and call in their dream partner to experience a soul-level kind of love through neuroscience-based release techniques and energy-based modalities. And Susan Brennan is here with me today. She's an RYT 200 certified yoga teacher, LifeVantage health coach, and former graphic designer and art director who helps her clients improve their health and discover their inner peace and power. Oh my goodness, ladies, welcome. How are y'all doing today?
Great. Nice to be here.
I always catch you all off guard with that because you're like, damn, I got to unmute really quick. She's asking me a question already. All right. Angela, we're going to start this party off with you. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
So my chapter is number 9, and it's called An Invitation, Right to Engage with Your Soul. And for you listeners, to me, this invitation is really to tap into your own heart. My chapter is about realizing that I did not have to be right. And I know that's something that we all struggle with, because for a long time, you just want to prove to someone how you're right and they're not. But in this chapter, I talk about an experience that I had and where I learned that really it's not about being right. It's about knowing my own heart and being to that, and allowing someone else to know their own heart and be true to themselves. And within that is such a gift, because if we were all the same, it would be so boring. So we have the opportunity to experience and witness different people by first really accepting who we are. And then because we allow ourselves to do that, being willing to accept others as they are.
Okay. You know, you're taking me back to right in the middle of my divorce. And if you had said to me, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I would have said, I want to be right. Okay. It's like, listen, it takes ninja level moves of awareness to wake up to, no, I actually want to be happy. I don't need to be right. Can you just talk about that for a little bit more?
Yeah. I mean, I can very much relate to your feeling of your experience. And I had that too. My chapter is about finding God, and my dad was a Jesuit priest, right? So here we've constantly had these conversations, and and someone helped me. I was working with an intuitive, but to get to this place of, wow, I know God for myself. And my dad, like, who am I? He's 40 years older than me. Who am I to tell him how to know God? And so just to be able to love him for who he is, because he loves me for who I am, it is the gift. You know? And I'm refraining from giving away this beautiful analogy from my chapter. But, it's really just being able to meet someone in the middle and talk for a while. And then you can go back to your side and they can go back to their side. But the gift is this being able to come in the middle and just experience each other because you're so solid in who you are and they're so solid in who they are.
Yeah, I really appreciated that part of your chapter. And I think that you're just dropping golden nuggets of awareness. All of you are. But that particular one, Angela, is like, it really is a big deal. I think it takes a level of maturity and a level of awareness to come to the point where you can have a conversation with somebody where you disagree completely, but you still love each other.
Mhm.
And you can still have a relationship even though you feel so strongly. So I appreciate you writing about that topic.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, stay tuned. We're going to hear more from Angela in just a moment. Mary, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Hi, so I wrote chapter 13. And I just have to say in my family, 13 is a lucky number. So I was really excited about that. So it's called Walking into Consciousness, Move from Autopilot to Connected. So yeah, creating awareness is definitely something that I am all about. But my chapter really kind of takes from the point of I was completely unaware. I was just kind of automatically doing things, doing life, taking care of other people, and kind of had an awakening that I was not listening to myself. They always say in self-care, put yourself at the top of the list. I wasn't on my list at all. I didn't have a list. It was just about helping other people. So once I was able to take a pause and start to listen, then I could really connect with not only myself, but nature and realize that is what pulls me. I absolutely love being in nature. I ground myself. And it led to my walking practice, which is what this chapter is about for me.
I wonder if you asked each person, when did you wake up? Meaning it was well into adulthood before I even really understood the fact that I could observe myself, my thoughts, feel my body, and separate, right? We need to make some space so that we can observe what is going on. And you only get a choice if you can do that. Nature for me is big too, Mary. Is there anything else you want to say about how that helps you connect like that?
Wow, for me, being in nature, I realized that I didn't have to turn anything off because it was just me being one with myself, and nature just, while it really is something that is bringing me into myself, it's also really expansive. And so the sky's the limit. I can go in there alone with no thoughts at all and come out with all of these ideas and creativity, or I can come out with stillness. And so I just find it a beautiful thing.
You're giving me a moment with the sky's the limit. Actually, there's beyond the sky, there's the galaxy, the universe, the galaxy, right?
True.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. And what's limiting us is really
Our own beliefs.
you got it.
Mhm.
Exactly. Thank you, Mary. Okay, Mayan, how about you? Tell us about your chapter.
Yeah, I wrote chapter 8, and it's called Soul Mapping, Uncovering the Clues in Your Home to Activate Your Manifestations. And this was me sharing a part of my life where I had wanted something so badly that I was doing everything I knew how to do to will it to happen, and it still wasn't happening. And so I felt so frustrated seeing everyone else experiencing what I wanted to experience and wondering what's wrong with me. Why can't I make this work? What is happening that this isn't happening for me? And so I talk about the journey that I went through to uncover how deep down my soul had a different deeper desire that I wasn't quite aware of. And when I uncovered that and I saw how there were clues within my home that it had been leaving, my soul had been leaving me these clues within my home, then I was able to tune in and tap into what is my true heart's desire. And from there, then everything unfolded, and I got what I got to experience, and it was perfect, and it was slightly different than what I was imagining, but it was the perfect thing that needed to happen. So I wrote this because I don't think I'm alone in this experience where we want something so badly and we don't know why it's not happening. But sometimes there's something on a deeper level that we need to heal, uncover, learn before we can get there.
So the topic of the clues in your home, it turns me on. Like, I'm right in the middle of a feng shui certification course right now. And there's so many insights. Can you just give us one little example of a clue that you found for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Yes. Without giving it all away. My chapter
Exactly.
all away. Well, I found that there are parts of our homes that reflect parts of our lives. There's different energies within our homes that really reflect what's going on in different areas of our life. So for me, I realized that this area where I was looking for creation, I wanted to be in this creative mode of wanting to birth something into the world. That area that mapped in my home was actually empty. I didn't spend any time in there. I didn't really decorate it. It was just this empty space, void of any joy, creativity, which was what I really wanted in my life. So it was just this perfect reflection of what was going on in my life, that when I realized it, that was what's happening in my home. I was like, whoa, that it was a wake-up call for me. So we all have these things. Yeah.
That's interesting with your story in particular, because of this thing you wanted so badly and you just couldn't get it. And now all of a sudden you see emptiness in that place in the home. You guys, you have to read the whole chapter because she's talking about this map, and I'm not even going to give you any more clues. You'll be fascinated by this. It's so exciting that there's something like that we can pay attention to, that can shift the energy in a way that gives us what we want in our life. I mean, yeah. Magical. Mayan, thank you so much. So Susan, let's hear from you. Tell us about your chapter.
I am in chapter 4, and it's called Crit, Reclaiming Your Wildness. And I started with my pivotal moment was when I was 18 years old and a college freshman, and I was pulled out of college, which you can read about in the chapter, but I was finally pushed to the place where I felt like I needed to defend myself. And for the first time, I was asking myself, Susan, what do you really want? You know, outside of what your parents think that you should be doing, and outside of, you know, what women in the 70s were expected to do, you know, what is your heart's desire? Where do you want to go in life? And the answer was art. And it had always been art. I was always, you know, fascinated by drawing and painting and just, you know, art history. I couldn't get enough of it. So then I talk about, because of that moment, that realization that, you know, I needed to stick up for myself, that I needed to, you know, make my desires in the world known. I became a health advocate for myself when I contracted Lyme disease at a young age. And I didn't have anyone, you know, back in the 70s, no one even knew what Lyme disease was. It didn't even have a name until a year after I contracted it. So there was a lot of, you know, soul searching and healing, and on many different levels that had to happen before I could get to a place where I was feeling halfway decent. And today I am, you know, I'm pretty close, I hope, to the end of my journey. And not every chronic Lyme disease patient can say that. Unfortunately, it's really, it's a tough go out there for Lyme disease patients. But the long haul Lyme is actually very similar to COVID. So I'm hoping that some of the research that's being done with COVID long haul will help long haul Lyme people too.
And I mean, having it before they even had a name for it, that's kind of interesting. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, and the advancements that they've made over these years, and the awareness and the advancements in treatment have been pretty interesting. I've been watching that a little bit too with different clients and people that have talked about it. You said something that I want to move back to. You said I had to stick up for myself, and believe it or not, I was in the shower this morning getting ready, and those exact words came through, and it was about like, we have to stick up, show up, stick up, speak up, stand
Level
up
up.
for
Yes.
ourselves and for each other.
Mhm.
But when you do it for yourself, then you can automatically, get better, a little bit better at doing it for other people. But can you talk a little bit more about that piece? What did that exactly mean for you personally?
It meant that the usual male doctors that want to tell you, like the first doctor that I went to was saying to my mom, not even really even talking to me. I mean, I was a 20-year-old, and he was saying, I'll just put her on antidepressants, just completely disregarding the very serious nature of what was happening to my body and my brain. And that played out over and over and over again. And that's where the resilience comes in, and the badassery, if you will. You just have to take a stand for yourself and say, I do not want to live the rest of my life as someone who is on the couch all day long. I refuse to be, a victim of this disease. I'm going to conquer it somehow, and I've got to find the right doctors and the right support system to make that happen. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. And I'm a fan of the word badassery. That is some badassery right there. Awesome. Thank you, Susan. So, all right, you guys, we're talking about sacred spaces, right, in this book. And Mary, I'm going to start this next question with you. What to you makes a space sacred?
Wow, it can be anything. It's really what you bring to it. Funny that you asked that, because I was thinking this morning how the parking garage in our building is a sacred space for me, because I make it a practice of getting outside every single day and walking. And so this morning it was pouring down rain. So I was walking through the parking garage and just kind of like up and down the levels. And I was noticing how when I get up on the top, that there are no cars that have been up there. So the water that's come in is puddling in all different patterns, that it's not just falling down in a straight line. Any little, nudge or hump or leaf or anything directs it in a completely different direction. And so I had that visual, and I was like, wow, just to be able to take a moment and see that is very sacred. So it can really be anywhere.
I love that example, the parking garage.
I know, not something you would think of.
No, I know, it's great. You also made me think of something someone said to me about a leaf. That, of course, we're recording this in the fall, and the leaves are falling. And he was reminding us that every time we see a leaf come down, that's a once in a lifetime event. And I was like, oh yeah, like that's a sacred moment,
It is.
Yeah, awesome.
Actually, I actually have a comment about that in my book too. I mean, in the book, in my chapter. So
The great minds.
yes, exactly.
Read it.
Yes.
Mayan, how about you on this? So what to you makes a space sacred?
For me, a sacred space means somewhere where we have put intentionality into it, where we are deliberate in our creation of what we're experiencing. So whether that is a time of day where we are doing our morning routines, or it's our home office where we're spending a lot of time, or our bedroom where we're spending a lot of time in it, that we have put into place this effort, and not effort in terms of like hard work, but really intention and attention into what we want to experience out of it, and our reasoning for why we want to experience that, rather than living life by default and just being reactive to expectations and requests of others, but really, what do we want, tuning into the experience that we want to create.
I love that you're bringing that up. It was one of the foundations in the course that I've been listening to. And it's not that I didn't already understand and know that, but I think we need reminders every day. Oh, we got to start with intentions. And we don't always do that. We float off in our minds somewhere else first, right? And we aren't starting there. But I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think it's foundational. Yeah. Susan, how about you on this one? What makes a space sacred for you?
I go back to, the old kindergarten, a place for everything and everything in its place. And I just feel more comfortable when I know that I can put my hands on something right away, that there's a certain level of comfort that comes with knowing that that you like everything that you have and that it means something to you.
Yeah. And that's interesting when you arrive in a place in your life and you look around and it's not like that. And you're like, why isn't it like this? Right? Why do you think people ultimately wake up and they're surrounded by stuff they don't like? What is that?
Yeah. It's holding on, and
Mm.
that's exactly what we don't want to do in our lives. We want to let go of what has come before us so that we can welcome in all of the new beautiful stuff of that day, living in the moment, and being along for the ride, just saying, yes, I'm down with this. This is my life, and you have to embrace it and make it mean something to you.
You're making me think of abundance principles also, because I cannot receive if my hands are full.
Yeah.
And if my house is cluttered with crap and there is no space to move or breathe or receive, there will be no flow, right? Oh my gosh, we could talk about this all day long.
Yeah.
Like, this is like one of my favorite topics ever. Mostly because I've spent literally like the last probably 3 to 5 years in the decluttering, cleaning, energy shifting. And it's been so amazing. But that's what that is too, is it's the energy of abundance. So letting go. I like that, Susan.
Yes. Yeah.
Angela, what do you want to add to this? What's a sacred space to you?
For me, it's being present. You can really make any space any space sacred when you're present. And I recently heard, actually at a wedding, the father of the bride said, there's only 2 days where you can't change things: tomorrow and yesterday. And so really right now is all we have. And so often we live regretting or thinking about something in the past, worrying or thinking about something in the future. But right now, if we can fully be present, and I mean that as also being fully present in your heart, right? Like being okay with who you are, then you realize the gift of life. Then you realize the gift of the things that you get to see, the people that you get to spend time with, the foods you get to taste. I mean, so often when I say prayers with my kids, I remind them, like, thank you that you can see and hear and feel and touch. We take so much for granted, but any place can be sacred if we're fully present in our own hearts and in the place with whomever that we are with.
Right. And the book is such a wonderful example of there are sacred spaces within. and there are sacred spaces outside, and it's all of it, right? But that is such an important foundational sacred space. You have to start right here. And even thinking about what Angela's saying about the heart, the core of you, literally, starting there is really, really important if you are interested in what it means to feel like you are a sacred space. I don't know about you gals, but sometimes I feel like, my whole journey, my lifelong journey has been to come back to that worthiness. Like, that's where it is right there. And this is fun for the next thing I want to ask all of you. Mayan, I'm going to start with you. That's an energy that I cultivate. It's conscious intention, like you said. Some days are harder than others, though, when it comes to feeling great and being that heart, that giving and receiving, both that heart. And you all have many different ways that you practice connecting to that space within, the one that we're talking about just now, and shifting your energy. I always talk about, with that awareness, then you have the choice. So what I want to hear from you is, tell us about one of your favorite ways that you consciously raise your vibe when you choose to.
So for me, I love what you added in there, when you choose to, because it really is a choice. And there are times when we choose not to. And for me, I think one of the things that really took me a while to learn is how to recognize that our emotions are the barometer of where we're at with creating what we want. So if I'm feeling bad about something, if I'm feeling desperate, if I'm feeling jealous maybe, or envious of someone else having something that I want to experience, that's an indicator for me to, okay, I get to choose to shift out of this energy. And when I do that, for me, it's really around, because I'm so tuned into wanting to feel good and knowing that with law of attraction, like, that's the key to law of attraction, is how you feel, and we have control over how we feel. So I remind myself that, okay, if there's a thing that I want and I'm not having it, then how can I feel better? Because that is the way to attracting and creating what I want. So then I take a step back and I'm noticing, how do I feel right now? I'm feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling upset. Okay, how do I want to feel instead? And what do I currently feel that feels really good in my life already? And how can I tap into that? So for me, being in an amazing relationship, like that, there's this feeling of love and abundance and freedom and fun, adventure. And so I tap into the things that are really going well in my life, for example, in my relationship. So I tap into that, and it already puts me into this immediate feeling of like, oh yeah, life is really great. I am feeling really good. And that will allow me to shift my attention from what's not going well and into this good feeling space. And then from there, then my energy vibration can just keep going up and up and up.
I love how you describe that shift of attention, and it can be that quick, just shifting your attention on something else. Why is it too that, like, we have one area in our lives, all the rest are amazing, but this one area it's just like bogs us down, right? But I love what Mayan just said about that, because if we just face in the direction of one of those things that is really awesome, we'll have it, right? Because they all affect each other. Yeah. Okay, so Susan, what about you? Tell us one of your favorite ways that you're raising your vibe when you choose to.
When I choose to, I was thinking about, what makes a space sacred, going back to the last question, and having some of your favorite things in a spot that like I have my piano right off to the side of me, and I can sit down and change my emotion. I can either play into a sad emotion or kind of raise it up with a happier song. Music has always done that for me. And then I can go into my art room and see that, I actually like the progress that I'm making on this painting, or, you don't even have to judge it. It's just, the release of your creativity and making something beautiful or making something that means something to you. Yeah.
Art and music, two big, awesome ones. Music, oh my gosh, playing music, like you say, powerful, powerful. And if many of you I know have tried and done some toning, chanting, toning, like it's not even singing. Like, so those of you who are afraid of that, I just said that and you're like, no, I can't sing. Well, but you can like right? Like I've been in a room where that was done and it just feels like you're being washed out from the insides in a good way. And it immediately shifts. But also playing great loud music in my car is another way I get to that place. So
Absolutely.
music is so awesome. Okay, Angela, you're next on this one. Tell us one of your favorite ways.
Oh, I have so many. I'm like, can I just say them all really fast?
I know. There's a list, right? We have a toolbox for this.
I think one of the more recent ones, to piggy off with May was saying about this feeling, I kind of grew up and anger is my big emotion, right? And I'm angry and I shouldn't be angry. Angry is a scary one. But this shift in words of I feel angry versus I am angry, right? Because I am an evolving being, but the essence of me is my heart, right? Whatever my heart is, everyone too. But we can feel all these different things. And just last week, my 6-year-old was crying. He's like, I just feel really sad and that makes me feel scared. And he wasn't saying I am, he was saying I feel. And I was like, yes, because he knows who he is, but he was just expressing that sometimes it's just, we feel through things and we are a very emotionally feely family over here. So just really separating that, because for so long for me, when I would feel angry, I identified as being an angry person, and that made me feel less about myself. So that distinction between feeling and being, who you are. Another one I use really quickly is Byron Katie wrote a book called Loving What Is. Listen to it in audio after you read Sacred Spaces too. But, there's 4 questions. Is it true? Whatever you're thinking, I hate my life. Is it true? Yes, you're going to say yes. Then you say, are you sure it's true? And you can never prove that you're sure it's right. Number 3 is, who would you be without this belief? And that's when you catch yourself and you realize you've created this story that is causing your suffering or your ache. And then you flip it. So instead of I hate my life, you flip it. What's the flip is I love my life. And then you start to go, oh, well, yeah, actually I do. So it's just recognizing too, that in certain moments, our thoughts are limiting, but we never are.
You're giving us the power questions from the work, right? And that's a book I may need to go back to for a second or third or fourth read. It's powerful.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to rewind to what you said about, the I am to I feel that's a vibe shifter.
Yeah.
And that's, I want listeners to just like pause there for a second, because if you skimmed over what Angela said, you might think that it sounded negative, but it's actually a vibe shifter. Even that subtle, and that's what this book is about, these subtle shifts. I think they're ninja moves. That's what I call them. And if you just shift in that tiny way, it could change everything.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. And the question, who would you be without that belief? Oh my goodness, that's a life-changing question.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Mary, I know it's hard to go last on these. What do you want to add? What's one of your favorite ways?
Well, I realized that I'm all about connection. So for me to make a shift, I used to think that, I have to talk to a friend or, go out and, just be with people. But I realized that it is even just making a connection with looking at something. Go outside and look at a flower, go outside and make a connection with nature. So I will shift right away from, if I'm feeling lonely or sad or frustrated or, anything at all, if I can just find a connection, then to me it's like, oh, this is just pure joy. Like I can sit and realize like, oh, this is a moment that will pass, and I'm safe in my connection, and it grounds me. So
I think that most of us will second that nature connection is a fast shift. Even if, I mean, I know it could be as easy as, well, if you have a pet, just shifting focus to petting your pet, your dog, your cat, that little being is nature right there walking all around you and loving on you. And then you also make me think of, well, a plant in your house could also be the shift, because I always love walking in nature and getting out of the house. However, if our listeners can't, guess what? There are ways you can do this, like right there. Open a window, take a couple of deep breaths of that air, unless you live in New York, don't breathe too deep. No, there's some places, right? But the plants, anything, I mean, there's lots and lots of ways that we can get that connection. Okay, ladies, so I've got one more for you, and we're going to move around to all of you. Susan, I'm going to start with you, really thinking about our listeners and viewers today and the reader of our book. What's a simple stepping stone that you can give them to being on this healing path, to give them an easy entry point, something simple to start with? Like, what do you want them to know?
I think something that's really powerful and very easy to do is, well, not so easy to do in the long haul, but from moment to moment, if you can try to track what you're thinking and just take a look at it. Am I saying positive things to myself? Am I building myself up? Am I reaching for those goals that I really want? Are you taking little steps every day to meet those goals? It really is very transformative to realize that you don't talk to yourself the way that you would talk to your best friend, and you need to be kinder to yourself and give yourself a break every once in a while, but keep going towards your goals because they're important. It means your life means something. You need to keep learning, keep growing. I
Yeah.
guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And I used journaling for the first piece when you said, see if you can keep track of your thoughts. And in the beginning, when I was not awake for most of the time, I had to start writing it down. And some days I'd write these things down on my notepad and just be like, whoa, do I think that? Like, it was such an awareness thing for me. And that can just be a quick way to start to keep track. What am I talking like to myself? What am I thinking about that? This is a profound, subtle shift. Another one. We have a book full of them, you guys. Oh my gosh. Angela, how about you? What's that thing that you want our listeners to know today?
I think community is really important. And when you first asked that question, I was like, read the book. And I don't
Yes.
I don't mean it in like promoting it, selling it because I just want you to buy it and read it. I'm saying it because when you ask that question, something really beautiful has happened here, right? We all showed up and we were willing to really open up and be vulnerable because other people were doing the same thing. And it was a subtle shift for each of us in writing our own chapter. It's a bigger than subtle shift that it's all together in a book. it's even bigger with other people realizing, oh, she just shared her heart and told me that story. Oh my gosh, maybe I could do the same. And so community, finding your people. And again, I have a daughter who's in middle school, right? Who's so worried about friends, all these friends. I'm like, you don't need a lot. You just need real ones. And that's what happened here, right? It's like any training you sign up for, or whatever. The right people are always showing up at that time. So finding a space or finding a group of people that you really connect with, and then opening up. Because once you do that, and then someone reflects back to you, like Mary and I are very, feel our way through lives. We've talked a lot about it. I don't know. I just feel all these people are doing amazing things in our group. I just have a big heart and I just feel it all and I'm amazed. And it's like, but the group needs that too, you know? So when you're in community and you feel safe and you feel supported, then you have a good foundation to be able to start to make subtle shifts in your life. If you feel alone, it's so overwhelming. So a subtle shift I would recommend is finding community. And I promise you, there are 23 authors in this book that will offer that to you individually and collectively, because that is the big mission of this book. We all really care about uplifting other people because we have been uplifted. We uplifted each other here. It's like you just want that ripple to keep going. So that is my not so subtle shift.
I love it. I love it. And I love it. And of course, agree with every morsel of that. Mary, how about you? What do you want our listeners to know today?
I would like that everybody plan their joy, schedule their joy, take time for their joy every single day. You know, people think that, oh, self-care is, you know, once in a while, or but it's not. And so people that are schedulers, they usually say, you know, like start with the repeat schedule, you know, appointments and stuff like that. I said, no, start with your joy, plan your joy. What are you going to do that brings you joy every single day? And if you have no idea what brings you joy, then I say, think back to when you were a child and what was your play then? You know, did you sit on the floor and play jacks? Were you out roller skating? You know, what was it that you were doing? And start there, because probably it will bring you joy, and then be able to connect with maybe something else that now fits you a little bit better and brings you more joy and reminds you of that. So yeah, definitely bring the joy.
Jacks, anyone? Roller skating, anyone? Yeah, like, oh
my
my
life
gosh.
as a child, right? Yes.
Marbles.
most
You just
two
gave me
important
like
things.
50 flashbacks and all, like all
Yeah,
of my
coloring,
things. Yes,
right?
coloring. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Finger
yeah.
paints.
Right.
Yes.
I discovered with
best.
my niece that playing jacks now is a little more challenging. You know, I was a champion as a kid. Yeah, it was hilarious.
That's awesome. And I love that one so much. Okay, Mayan, you're going to wrap us up today. Tell us something that you'd like our listeners to know.
Yeah, I would love our listeners to know that our desires are ours for a reason. Like, we have desires because I truly believe that we're meant to experience them in this lifetime. And because not all of us want to go to the moon or be astronauts, not all of us want to be doctors, not even all of us want to be parents. But if there is that desire within us, there's a reason for it. And so really to tap into what are those desires. I know for myself, I had been listening to societal expectations, parental expectations, like all of these different things that weren't truly me, and following those actions versus what I truly wanted. So I would say one subtle shift would be to tap into your desire. And you can do that by writing things down. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to experience this lifetime? And it could be something small. It could be, oh, I want to go travel to Costa Rica, or it could be even smaller than that. I want to I just signed up for a pole dancing class. So that's something that's been on my list of something fun to do. So I signed up for that. So it could be, it could be anything from doing it for fun to for impact, for community, but really tapping into what do you truly want to do? Not because what you think someone else wants you to do, but because it's within your heart. That's your heart's true desire. And also I want to kind of piggyback off what Angela said, is to be in community, find a community of people who are like you in wanting to do these things, and then you're going to find your tribe, and life is going to be so much more fun when we do fun things with fun people, and that again raises your vibration and experience of life.
I love it. So I know you all heard something today that gave you the goosebumps, that maybe you have a question about, or you're like dying to continue the conversation. What I want you to all do now is just scroll down to the show notes, because I have all of these authors' websites hooked up down there for you. Take a little exploration and see all the awesomeness that they're up to. Our community is very generously there for you to answer that question, to take you on the next step, to give you the support that maybe you haven't had up until now. So if you're one of those people who's listening to the gals talk about community and you're thinking, well, I don't have one, well, now you do. And this is one of my favorite things about the projects. They're not just books. They are caring, heart-centered, powerful communities, and we're changing the world that way. And all you need to do is reach out, you guys. So authors, powerful women in my Zoom room today, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share with everyone. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
So back to the listeners, remember you're invited to join all of the authors of Sacred Spaces 2 for our live stream book launch party. That's going to be on November 4th, 10 a.m. Eastern on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. I have that link below for you as well. And if you're listening all in and around that time, November 1st is our publication date. So that means you can hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this beautiful book and start your adventure. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.